The return of Imaya Bediako was not met with silence. It was met with whispers. Whispers that stuck to school hallways like perfume in an old coat. They said she was unstable. They said she tried to jump off the tower bridge. They said she had hallucinations. But mostly they said, that girl was too smart to snap without a reason. Imaya walked through the front gates of Alcott House, the most expensive and elite sixth form academy in London, like she'd never left. She wore her uniform with a precision no one remembered. Her hair was in a long, thick braid, sleek, controlled. Her posture, rigid, composed. Her face, unreadable. But inside her chest, a storm gathered. Because while the outside world assumed her return was voluntary, Imaya knew one thing for sure. She was back to solve a puzzle that lived in her head, and that puzzle might be her. The last thing she remembered clearly was sitting in her father's study in Nairobi. His office smelled of bergamot and ash. He'd just poured her tea, asked her to sign a summer exchange release form, and kissed her on the forehead. The next thing she remembered? A white room. Pale lights. A nurse whispering her name like it might trigger a bomb. Imaya, you're safe. You've been gone for 9 months. Her parents wouldn't say what happened. Only that she'd suffered an episode. Her friends had moved on. Her boyfriend, Daniel, was now dating her roommate. And someone had wiped her social media, emails, and even her journals. There were no memories. Just echoes. But on her first day back at Alcott, she found a note in her locker. You were right. Don't let them gaslight you. Trust no one. She didn't know anyone named M. She didn't remember anything to be right about. Still, she burned the note in the school restroom and flushed the ashes. She didn't want them to know she was watching. That night, at her welcome-back dinner, where her parents sat stiffly across a glimmering restaurant table, they asked no real questions. They wore concern like borrowed clothing. I'm glad you're feeling better, her mother said with her model-perfect smile. I'm not, Imaya replied. Silence. Her father shifted uncomfortably, glancing toward his phone. Therapy is going to help. Maybe when you're ready we can talk about the hospital. The accident. I didn't fall. And I wasn't crazy. Her voice didn't shake. I just can't remember what happened. Her father's hand gripped the wine glass too tightly. At 2:43 a.m. her phone buzzed. A message from a hidden number. Memory is just another version of power. Ask about St. Madeline's. Don't trust the therapist. Imaya's breath caught. Her therapist was the one who helped her stabilize enough to return. Dr. Bellamy. Friendly, British, upper crust, and always smiling too hard. Was she part of it? What was St. Madeline's? She searched. Found nothing. But the next morning, another note was taped to the inside of her school textbook. You were never sick. Just too curious. For the first time since she came back, Imaya felt something pierce the fog in her head. Rage. And something else she hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. She wasn't crazy. Something had happened to her. Someone had done something. And if her memory wouldn't help her, then she'd make the city remember for her. Alcott House dripped civility like poisoned honey. Every girl wore their wealth like perfume. Light, expensive, and hard to trace. The halls weren't loud. They whispered power. And Imaya walked through them like a glitch in the perfect system. On the second day back she noticed it. The stares weren't curious, they were controlled. Too many students glanced at her, then quickly away, like they were trained not to engage. Even her old friend Clara, who used to braid Imaya's hair during free periods, only nodded at her in passing as if acknowledging a ghost. No hugs. No, welcome back. No, I missed you. Something had changed. But it wasn't just them. She had changed too. In class, she sat near the windows and took notes by instinct, not memory. She recognized Shakespeare's cadence, but not the discussions they used to have about it. When the teacher asked, "What's your take on Lady Macbeth?" Imaya responded without flinching. She knew exactly what she was doing. That's what made her dangerous. The teacher blinked. Interesting. The class was quiet. Too quiet. At lunch she sat alone. Until a girl she didn't know slid into the seat across from her. Pale skin, gold hoops, East African accent hidden under London polish. I'm Mariel. You probably don't remember me. Imaya's eyes narrowed. Should I? You transferred out of Alcott the same week I transferred in. We never overlapped. But I know your story. Imaya frowned. You mean the made-up one? Mariel leaned in. No. The real one. The one even you don't know yet. Before Imaya could speak, Mariel slipped a folded napkin into her hand and stood. Eat fast. Cameras cover this side of the dining hall. Imara blinked. Cameras. But Mariel was already gone. The napkin said, "Library. 3rd floor. Behind the Russian section. 5:20 p.m. At 5:20 on the dot, Imara slipped into the shadows between forgotten literature and dusty Cyrillic dictionaries. Mariel waited, her arms crossed, earbuds in like she wasn't waiting for anyone. "No one comes here," she said. "It's dead space. Cameras are blocked by the shelf corners. That's why the old prefects used to hook up here." "Why are you helping me?" Imara asked. "Because I saw you once. At St. Madeleine's clinic." Imara's breath stopped. "You were in the East Wing. The locked unit. You used to scream in French in your sleep." "I don't speak French." Mariel's voice softened. "Exactly." That night, Imara searched her parents' files. She knew the password to her mother's iCloud, still unchanged, Nairobi Gold. She found emails from the clinic. Subject: Request for Non-Disclosure Agreement, Adolescent Ward, Imaya Bediako. Subject: Request to alter medical report language for insurance approval. Subject: Memory Suppression Protocol Summary Bellamy Approval. Each one felt like a dagger pressed lightly on her throat. They had buried it all. Legally. Clinically. Completely. And that wasn't all. One attachment was a photo from the clinic's observation room. Imara, strapped to a chair, eyes wide, hair half-shaved, bleeding from her hands. She dropped the phone. The image didn't feel like her. But it was her. And someone had tried very hard to erase that version of her. So why was it resurfacing now? She looked at her reflection in the darkened window. "Who the hell are you really?" she whispered to the glass. And for a split second, she swore her reflection blinked before she did. 3 weeks before Imara's episode, a fire had broken out at the family's Nairobi townhouse. It was ruled electrical, possibly due to old wiring. No one was hurt. Only one room was affected, Imara's childhood bedroom. That's what her mother had told her. But after Mariel mentioned St. Madeleine's, the fire took on a new shape in her mind. Less accident, more erasure. At 3:12 a.m., Imara sat in bed, the London skyline reflecting off her window pane. She hadn't slept. Her fingers trembled over the keyboard as she searched archived Nairobi fire incident logs. The fire occurred at exactly 2:43 a.m., just like the mysterious text she received days ago. Coincidence? She didn't believe in those anymore. There were no official photos of the damage. But a cached news blog post had something better. Breaking. Fire at Bediako residence. Daughter allegedly injured in night incident. Imara clicked. The article was taken down, but not before Google had indexed a thumbnail. In the background, smoke. In the foreground, a girl. She was barefoot. Blood on her hands. Hair wild. Staring straight at the camera like a woman who'd watched something she loved die. The file name? Mirrorblood.jpg. She downloaded it, then threw up in the bathroom sink. That morning her mother called. "Hi, sweetheart. Just checking in. Are you sleeping better?" "I want the truth about the fire," Imara said. Silence. A beat too long. "Oh, that." Her mother's voice went tight. "That was so long ago. You weren't even home." "I was in the photo, Mum." Her mother exhaled. "Imara. That's the illness talking. That fire was traumatic for you, but the doctor said it's best you don't dwell. And Dr. Bellamy agrees." Imara's grip tightened around her phone. "Then why does Bellamy have legal documents about suppressing my memory?" The silence turned deadly. "I don't know what you think you found," her mother said coldly, "but I suggest you stop digging before you regret it." Call ended. Just like that. Later that day Imara skipped class. She caught the train to Bristol, where Dr. Bellamy's private practice was headquartered. Her parents thought she still saw him once a week, via Zoom, but she'd stopped 2 months ago. She needed answers. And not filtered through screens. The receptionist smiled. "I'm sorry, Dr. Bellamy is fully booked." Imara didn't flinch. "He'll see me." "I'm afraid that's not." "Tell him," Imara said, leaning in, "that the girl from room 8 at St. Madeleine's is here. And she remembers the fire." The woman paled. "One moment." Bellamy's office was an iceberg. Sleek glass walls, neutral colors, shelves full of books with titles like Cognitive Closure and When Memory Lies. He stood as she entered. "Imara. I wasn't expecting. You told me to trust you. I still want you to. I remember blood. I remember screaming. I remember being restrained like an animal. And I want to know why my parents signed off on a protocol designed to erase what happened to me." He sat. "It wasn't what you think," he said softly. No, she snapped. It never is. Bellamy exhaled. You had a psychotic break, Imara. And when the doctors sedated you, you began shouting about a girl. About fire. About something you weren't supposed to know. What girl? He hesitated. Then, you called her Maya. Imara blinked. Who's Maya? We thought she was imaginary. But you were obsessed. You said she died in the room that burned. But there was no evidence anyone else was there. Imara stood, eyes wide. She's real. Bellamy's voice dropped. Imara. If Maya existed, someone made very sure you wouldn't remember her. And in that moment, her hands started shaking again. The same tremor from the fire. The same one she'd been trained to call anxiety. But it wasn't fear. It was memory trying to claw its way out. That night, Mariel found her outside the school chapel. Did you go to Bellamy? Imara nodded. He said I made Maya up. You didn't. Then who is she? Mariel looked up at the moon. Your sister. What? You had a twin. Imara's world tilted. Maya died. And someone, maybe everyone, decided you couldn't know that. The wind shifted. But your mind wouldn't let her go. And suddenly it made sense. The mirror. The photo. The strange memory gaps. The girl who blinked before she did. Maya wasn't a stranger. She was the girl in the mirror. Imara hadn't cried in years. Not even when her memory shattered. But when Mariel said the name Maya, not like a theory but a fact, it cracked something inside her. Twin. The sister. Buried in fire. Buried in silence. Buried in her. She stared out over the city from her dorm window at 2 a.m., knees tucked to her chest, whispering the name like a prayer. Maya. And from somewhere in her body, somewhere not fully hers, came an echo. I'm still here. The next morning, Imara skipped school and took the train to Canterbury, where the burned house now stood behind a new gate and a new security system. Her parents had it rebuilt in just 6 months. Modernized. Sanitized. But memory didn't care about paint or polished floors. Memory was a feral dog. It always came back to the scene. She climbed the stone wall barefoot, landing hard on the garden path. Her palms scraped. Her breath caught. The roses were new. But the soil felt wrong. She used the spare key under the lantern, still there, always there, and stepped inside. The house hummed. She walked through the new living room, polished kitchen, and then upstairs, each step slower, heavier, until she reached the door. Her door. Maya's door. They'd turned the room into a reading lounge. No beds. No mirrors. No toys. No photos. But on the far wall, under a hanging tapestry, something glinted. She pulled it aside. A mirror. Cracked. Not replaced. Just hidden. And on the corner, scratched faintly in silver. I tried to warn you. Her knees buckled. She woke up an hour later on the floor. A scent in the air, ash. Not metaphorical. Real. The house wasn't on fire. But something behind the mirror was. She stepped closer. Trembling fingers pushed it aside. Behind it, a hollow wall. A fireproof metal box sat inside. Inside that, a charred USB stick, a photo, and a sealed envelope with her name, not Maya's. Hers. She opened the envelope. A letter, handwritten in tiny slanted script. If you're reading this, they haven't stopped you. I'm proud of you. You're not weak. You're the survivor. But you need to know what they did. You need to remember who I was. Not the ghost they erased. The sister they locked away. I was the one who saw it. The one who tried to stop them. And they said I was the dangerous one. They called it delusion. They medicated me, isolated me until only you remained. You forgot me. But I never forgot you. Open the files. Trust only what bleeds. Truth always leaves blood behind. Her hands shook as she looked at the USB. She plugged it into her laptop as soon as she returned to London. The drive had 3 files. 1 video. 1 folder named allcut_internal. 1 document, my_statement.txt. She opened the video first. It was dated 2 weeks before the fire. A surveillance video from Alcott's therapy unit. 2 girls sat in the room, identical. 1 calm. 1 wild-eyed. 1 dressed in blue. 1 in white. 1 crying. 1 silent. Tell them, Imara, the girl in white screamed. Tell them what you saw. The other girl just stared. Frozen. Fearful. I did, she whispered. They said I made it up. The girl in white screamed. What? The feed cut. She opened my_statement.txt. It was a declaration. Not a diary. My name is Imaya Bediako. My sister is Imara. We were born in Nairobi on the same day, minutes apart. I watched my father do something I wasn't supposed to see. I told the school. I told the therapist. Then they said I was hallucinating. Delusional. I wasn't. I was a witness. And I became a liability. So they made Imara forget me. They said she was the cleaner version. The presentable one. The university face. And I became the cost. I'm not angry. I just don't want to disappear completely. Imara stopped breathing. Her entire life was built on the memory of being an only child. But she'd never been alone. She'd been the chosen twin. The one who survived by forgetting. By design. At that moment her phone buzzed. A new number. No name. You weren't supposed to find it. But now that you have, be careful. They're watching. And they've done this before. Imara's hands trembled as she locked her door. The reflection in the mirror no longer felt like hers. She wasn't sure who she was anymore. But she knew who she used to be. And that meant Maya was real. And someone had killed her. Zain Afolayan didn't ask questions when Imara showed up at his door. It was midnight. She was soaked in rain. Shoes gone. Eyes burning. He opened the door wordlessly, stepped aside, and let her walk in like she still belonged. Do you want tea? He asked. No. Do you want to sleep? No. Do you want me to shut up? She hesitated. No. He gave her his sweatshirt, warm and oversized. She sat on the floor beside his bookcase, clutching the USB like a relic. Her voice cracked. I had a sister. Zain froze. She died. In a fire I was made to forget. Because she saw something that could have destroyed everything. He didn't ask what. He didn't say, are you sure? Or, that sounds insane. Instead he said, do you remember her face? Imara nodded slowly. It's mine. Zain knelt beside her. Then she's not really gone. And for the first time in months she wept. Not because she was weak, but because her heart finally believed what her mind had always known. Maya was real. She'd always been there. In the dreams. In the mirror. In the gaps. They spent the night on the floor not speaking. Just breathing. At sunrise, Zain took her to his garden. It was small, just a patch of overgrown green behind his studio apartment. But he kept it alive. There were roses. Herbs. A lemon tree. This was my grandmother's, he said. She said gardens remind us of two things, what we bury and what grows anyway. Imara stared at the soil. I need to dig, she whispered. He tilted his head. Literally or figuratively? Both. Later that day she returned to Alcott. Her hands still shook, but her spine was steel. She sought out the one person who had never stopped watching her since she returned. Claire. Imara caught her outside the student council room. We need to talk. Clara stiffened. About what? About Maya. Clara paled. I know you remember her. I saw the surveillance footage. I found her USB. Clara didn't deny it. She didn't run. Instead, she whispered, they told us to call her the imaginary twin. They? The school. Your parents. Bellamy. They said it was part of your split delusion. They said if we acknowledged her, it would make it worse. So we erased her. Tears gathered in Clara's eyes. But she was real. I remember her singing in Swahili. She braided my hair. She beat Theo Simmons in chess in under 5 minutes. She existed. Then why didn't you say anything when I came back? Clara choked. Because the last time you two fought, the fire happened. Silence. What do you mean? She confronted you. Screamed that you betrayed her. That you sided with your father. Imara staggered. That's not possible. I would never. But you did. Clara's voice was soft. Faint. You were afraid. You didn't believe her. You told Bellamy she was hallucinating. You thought she was dangerous. Imara's chest caved in. Oh my God, she whispered. I killed her. No, Clara said. You didn't light the fire. But you lit the match in her heart. You left her alone in that room, Imara. That night, Imara sat in Zain's garden again, burying her hands in the soil. She died thinking I didn't believe her. Zain sat beside her, quiet. But you do now, he said. And now you get to decide what you do with that belief. Imara looked at him. Why are you here? Because I see you. All of you. Even the broken parts. Her voice trembled. What if I'm not Imara anymore? Then maybe it's time you stop trying to be her. He took her hand. Maybe it's time you become the girl Maya died protecting. The next morning, Imara changed her name in the school system. From Imaya Bediako to Imaya. A fusion. A reclamation. A rebirth. Not the girl they erased. Not the one who forgot. But the one who remembers. And who refuses to be erased again. Imaya, not Imara, stood in the rain outside St. Madeleine's Institute, the place her mind had erased and her sister had died because of. The building looked like every mental health facility in England. Red brick, ivy-covered, peaceful. A lie built in architecture. Zane waited in a car across the street. She told him not to follow. This is mine. She entered through the east wing. Everything was clinical, air-purified silence, soft blue walls, potted plants. Sanitized. But when she said the words, "I'm a returning patient." Room 8, the nurse's eyes flickered. Recognition. It was real. They escorted her to Dr. Bellamy's old archive. Only authorized parties can access this level, the nurse warned. I have authorization, Imaya said, sliding a forged signature document across the desk. She'd spent the last week learning her father's signature, perfectly. The woman paused, then nodded. Welcome to the truth. The records room was cold. In a file drawer labeled Bediako were 12 folders. Each one told a different version of her life. A one said she had an imaginary sister. A one said her twin died at birth. One said Maya never existed at all. But then she found it. Patient file. Imaya Bediako, classified, involuntary admission, age 15. Inside were reports written by nurses, not doctors. Eyewitnesses. One entry read, patient reported sexual misconduct by high-profile family member. Report was retracted after parental intervention. Psychiatrist instructed to monitor for delusions. Another. Patient Maya claims her twin was convinced to lie under oath. The files proved it. Maya had witnessed their father doing something unspeakable, and she had told someone. They silenced her. Locked her away. Gaslight her own sister to forget she ever existed. And when Maya tried to make noise, she died in a fire. That wasn't an accident. It was execution. Imaya scanned every document, copied the footage, and downloaded the transcripts. It was more than revenge. It was reclamation. She left the clinic with a hard drive in her coat and a fire in her chest. This time when she looked in the mirror, she didn't flinch. The day Imaya returned home was the day the storm broke. She entered her father's office like she had once, as a daughter. But now, as a ghost with receipts. I know what you did to Maya, she said. He didn't even pretend to be shocked. She was unstable, he said calmly. You were the one with a future. I protected you from that infection. Infection? She whispered. She would have destroyed everything. You are named this family. She had to go. And so did the memory. He smiled. But it worked, didn't it? Imaya slid a flash drive onto the table. You won't bury me too. His smile dropped. That's everything, she said. The files. The tapes. The admissions. I'm giving you 48 hours to step down from every board you sit on, issue a statement confessing your abuse, and disappear. Or, I leak it. He leaned back. And you think you'll survive the fallout? Imaya stood. I'm not here to survive. I'm here to finish what Maya started. She left him in the silence of a falling empire. That night, the press received a confidential tip. The headlines came the next morning. Elite African diplomat implicated in mental health cover-up and abuse scandal. Missing twin. Secret files. Institutional corruption exposed. Imaya didn't hide. She walked the city freely. Not as a survivor, but as a truth-teller. Even if it cost her everything. A year later, Imaya sat on a stage at a youth mental health conference in Berlin. Her speech went viral. I'm not a miracle. I'm not a redemption arc. I am a reminder of what happens when silence is mistaken for peace, and when remembering becomes an act of rebellion. I remembered a girl no one else wanted to. My sister. My reflection. My blood. Her name was Maya. She died because of the truth. I live because of it. So if you ever feel like your memory is lying to you, ask who's benefiting from that lie. And then fight like hell to remember. The audience stood, cheered. But Imaya didn't cry. She didn't smile. She walked off stage and into the light, not as the girl who lost her mind, but as the one who took it back. That night, Zane held her hand on a balcony in Lisbon. Do you ever wish you could forget again? He asked. She looked at him. No. Because now when I see her in the mirror, she smiles back. And that was all the closure she needed. And that was all. And that was all. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for amazing stories of events coming up.